To think the original Range Rover had a cabin you could hose out. Well, theoretically, I'm not sure how many people would have done that. That was a lovely car to drive, it still is, but this is next level. I mean, listen to that. Exactly. You could drop a pin on a shag pile carpet that would make more noise than that. Even on 23-inch wheels, the ride is pretty sublime.
Make no mistake, this is one of the most keenly awaited cars of the year. Not just a car, an institution, the original. But given that Aston Martin, Bentley, Lamborghini, Mercedes and Porsche have all waded in with laser-focused rivals, this is no longer an exclusively Range Rover world. Technology and connectivity are also constantly evolving. Then there are the optics. Even the rich are paying lip service to being socially aware these days. Back to the drawing board then.
And that is a scary thought. I mean, imagine that particular clean sheet of paper. And this is also only the 5th generation Range Rover since the original arrived in 1970. So where do you start? Well, the headline news here is 2 new plug-in hybrids, one with 434 brake horsepower, the other with 503 brake horsepower. Their 3-litre petrol 6-cylinder engine, aided and abetted by a 31.8 kilowatt-hour battery. And that is apparently good for up to 62 miles range in pure EV mode, let's say 50 real world. And Range Rover claims that for most clients, customers, owners, whatever you want to call them, that will enable them to do 75% of their journeys without disturbing the internal combustion engine. I mean, gas prices are starting to get so high here in America that people are starting to get worried. Well, some of them.
Having told you about the hybrids, unfortunately we won't be driving them for another 6 months. So the new Range Rover arrives armed with a pair of diesels, including a 345 bhp D350. Then there's a 3-litre 395 bhp petrol and also a 4.4-litre twin-turbo V8. That's sourced from BMW. For those parts of the world that couldn't give a toss about the cost of fuel. Expensive all-newness arrives in the form of a shiny chassis, an aluminium configuration called MLA Flex that works in conjunction with Land Rover's integrated chassis control. The company says this moves the car from, and get this, a mechanical world to a mechatronic ecosystem. Okay. It's still heavy though, 2.5 tons of heavy in fact. Land Rover's engineers have worked their whatsits off to disguise the mass and boost the refinement.
There's fully independent air suspension with a new 5-axle setup at the rear and twin-valve dampers and a new 48-volt electronic anti-roll system to keep everything taut. Standard across the range is all-wheel steering with an active rear axle that can pivot up to 7 degrees. Now this is great for high-speed handling stability if you want to corner your expensive new Range Rover at the door handles, but it's much more useful at low-speed parking manoeuvres. You no longer need to be afraid of those tight urban spaces or a multi-storey car park. And there's the choice of standard or long wheelbase. And for the first time, you can get the Range Rover with 7 seats. The America in particular loves its posh SUVs. Kiss my ass, Cadillac Escalade.
Now, you might suspect, looking at it, that the design team nipped down the pub while the rest of the development guys put in the hard yards. Yes, the new Range Rover looks familiar. But actually, it's a miracle of body engineering, and those designers have surpassed themselves. The shut lines are as tight as you like, and look at how the side windows sit seamlessly with the doors. Viewed from the rear 3/4, it really is something majestic to behold. Cool new rear light treatment too. Ironically though, it's more forward looking than the actual front of the car. And then there's the inside.
Well, this certainly isn't an interior you would hose out. You have to be insane. I mean, look at it. Okay, this particular car, it's a bit monotone in here, but you can specify your new Range Rover in such a way that it's like a stately home reimagined by Wallpaper magazine. I mean, the quality is superb. The wood trim here is fantastic. You can specify sustainable ultra fabric and Kvadrat, which is this trim up the seat here. The touchscreen is a 13.1 inch, the biggest that's ever been fitted in a Land Rover product. I am still getting the hang of it. but they've definitely made some forward steps. Pivi Pro, I think their system is called.
The whole setup remains secret until lit, and despite all the technology, the Range Rover has a priceless air of calm. There are also power-assisted doors. They're an option that can recognise inclines and detect hazards. The SV division, meanwhile, is ready to handle extreme personalisation. The Signature Suite option on the long wheelbase version includes 24-way adjustable massage seats and a club table that emerges from the rear full-length centre console, rather magnificently too.
That mechatronic ecosystem I mentioned, it also includes a new electrical architecture that supports software over-the-air updates and covers 69 individual ECUs that can handle almost 23,000 separate network requests. There's fully integrated Amazon Alexa voice activation, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, all the stuff you would expect. Let's just hope then that Land Rover's less than stellar reputation when it comes to electrics has been addressed. Alexa, where's my nearest Land Rover dealer? Rolling refinement in this car. It's what they're most proud of. I spoke to the program director earlier today and I just said, what are you happiest with? And he went, yeah, the refinement. The truth is, there's an argument that the Range Rover is the definitive luxury car in 2022. Maybe the Mercedes S-Class, still got to think about Rolls-Royce. But the thing that the Range Rover does is it's imperious. Everybody likes the fact you sit up a bit higher. These seats are so comfortable. It's just the most lovely thing to roll along in. This particular car is powered by the D350 diesel. I know, a diesel. There are plug-in hybrids coming, obviously, and then a fully electric one in a few years' time. But for now, the diesel. And even though Land Rovers and G-name diesels aren't the last word in mechanical refinement, you would be hard-pressed to know that there was an engine up ahead of us here. It'll wade in up to 900 millimeters of water as well. Does anybody do that in their Range Rover? I would say probably not. But the key thing is, they like to know that they could if they wanted to.
Oh, who knows how many of these things ever actually venture fully off-road. But Range Rover's bandwidth is such a core value that there's zero compromise here. So all that stuff is taken care of by an all-wheel drive transmission that monitors grip levels and driver inputs 100 times per second and distributes torque predictively between front and rear axles. There's a new version of Land Rover's slick terrain response and an active locking rear differential. Assuming you're on the correct tyres, you will never get stuck.
Right, there's a man over there and he's gesticulating furiously that I do something that I don't feel like I should be doing in the Range Rover. God blimey, we're up high, aren't we? And all of this is achievable via the all-terrain control thing. I think, if I remember rightly, Land Rover introduced that in the original Freelander back in the late 90s. It's certainly been around for more than 20 years. And boy, does it make life easy for you. Yeah, this is where you realise just how absurdly capable these cars are. Yeah, it's funny, all day I've been driving, thinking this part of Northern California really does remind me of bits of Northern Ireland where I grew up, down to the rain. Now let's cut to some B-roll of a sunny day and some blue skies.
Range Rover has really doubled down on the luxury here, creating space for the upcoming Range Rover Sport to be more, well, sporty. With prices starting at £99,375 for the D300 diesel and stretching some way beyond 200 grand for a fully loaded P530 SV long wheelbase, the reassuringly expensive Range Rover is more expensive than ever.
You know what they say, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Well, almost everything has changed on the new Range Rover. And if this thing has long fancied itself as the world's greatest luxury all-rounder, well, now it has been fully future-proof too. It's more efficient, it's more refined, it's better to drive, and it's more ruthlessly modern to look at and to be in and coexist with. It's also more complicated. And yet, what we might have here is the essential Range Rover.